how to reduce stress naturally. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think stress is going away anytime soon, unfortunately. So figuring out how to be more invincible to it would be a really good idea. If this sounds like something you need to know more about, then you are in the right place because I'm here to answer that question in today's video. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Shockley, Doctor of Cause Chiropractic, board certified in sports medicine and specialized in clinical nutrition. In this video, we're going to be covering the most common reasons why people are feeling stressed and just overly physically and mentally unwell. Then I'll be sharing with you the most common negative impacts of stress on your health. There is so much more that it is impacting that you don't even have any awareness of. And finally, I will be sharing with you the most effective way to manage stress naturally from home that you can start immediately. It is easier than you think. Let's dive on in. What are the top reasons why people are feeling stressed these days? Most of these you'll probably have awareness of, but something you did not probably know is that 93% of all visits to the doctor are for stress-related illnesses. So figuring out what it is that is creating stress in your life and finding a solution for how you manage that better, or is there a way to decrease the amount of stress around it, is incredibly important. So let's discuss what are generally the most common triggers for ongoing stress in people's lives. The very first one, of course, has to do with money matters, finances, the economy, and the craziness that we're in right now in relationship to all of that is a major stressor for people and ultimately is one of the common denominators for divorce, which moves into another reason why people are generally stressed is being in relationships that are stressful. Along the lines of relationships, just also the feelings of loneliness and depression, which in the last year and a half with everything that has been going on in life have only amplified. And segueing right out of that is talking about health and health-related concerns, which absolutely has been a root cause of a lot of stress in our current times. And from there, disapproval in government and ultimately just worries over politics and what's happening within the country or within the world, very much so are on the radar for people. Another stressor that people may not 100% be aware of is just social media and the use of technology these days. Obviously it amplifies when stressful situations are happening because everybody is putting thoughts and feelings there, but it's not that per se. It's just the ongoing access that work has, or that we have this concern that we're missing out on things, or just the general nature of who you're following or whatever they're choosing to post, that it can create extra stress. And then just being on technology indirectly, well, directly, creates its own stress on the body as well. And then one of the other common reasons that people just have ongoing stress that impacts the health negatively is anxiety around any kind of current events or current affairs that are happening. So whether it's the conversations around climate change or terrorism or the racial tensions that are happening, all of those absolutely are creating stress in today's society. Now, I'm curious, you may have not gone to the doctor for something that in your head it was directly related to any of the events that I just mentioned. But if you start thinking about your overall health and well-being, especially over the course of the last year and a half, and you found yourself not well and in the doctor's office, do you think maybe that had something to do with it? Or did you realize that these are the most common stressors that people are having? I think the answer is probably yes, but let me know. Drop them down in the comments below and just give me some thoughts on how you feel you're managing stress right now. Doing a good job? Could use some improvement? Let me know down in the comments. Now we're going to move into the most common negative impacts that stress can have on the body. And I emphasize negative because stress can be good. I mean, when we go and we work out and we're stressing the body, it creates our body's ability to form lean muscle, which is actually good for us. And when we're doing that type of aerobic activity, we're actually exercising and challenging, but in a healthy manner, the heart and bringing up its level of health. So it's not always bad. But what we're focusing in on is the chronic stress that actually creates negative health effects because of how the body is handling the world and the extra stress that you are living through right now. Now, there are dozens of studies that have linked chronic stress to the list of symptoms and health conditions that I'm going to share with you. Stress is not the only thing that can create these types of scenarios, but if you find that you're suffering with one of these symptoms, or one of these conditions, and your life is a little stressful, like most of ours seem to be, stress is something that it could at least be amplifying if it's not the only underlying cause of that issue. So again, figuring out how to manage stress and keep it in check so you're more resilient to it would help to improve any of these following symptoms or conditions that you might be struggling with right now. One of the most common ones that we're familiar with are tension headaches. Any kind of tension in the muscular system, neck pain, back pain, aches and pains in general, all can very much so be related to stress. They are definitely aggravated by stress. So again, working to reduce the impact of stress on the body will improve all of those. Feeling overly fatigued also can directly come from just chronic levels of stress. High blood pressure, I think, is one that people have a lot of awareness on when we're constantly in stress. It makes the whole cardiovascular system work harder and not be calm, which can ultimately end up leading to high blood pressure along with other health-related, heart-related issues. Heart disease itself, of course, as I just was mentioning, would be one that you could expect that is maybe not solely caused by stress, but absolutely aggravated and amplified by stress. Obesity is another one that people may not necessarily think of first, but when we're dealing with chronic levels of stress, one of the things it does to the body that creates a whole cascade of these symptoms to occur is it interferes with our normal hormone balance. Whether this is the cortisol hormone or leptin, which is something that actually helps with that, it messes up hormone balance in general, including the thyroid hormones too. So just that in and of itself is something that can lead towards gaining unwanted pounds. In addition to some of the emotional ways that we manage stress, some people have a tendency to overeat, or we start reaching for things that we know are not as healthy for us, again, because of these fluctuations within our hormones. Multitude of different reasons, but that's some of the way that stress can actually lead to, or at least aggravate, carrying extra unwanted weight. Something else directly related is diabetes. And part of this, again, has to do with hormone fluctuations. One that you may be familiar with stress is cortisol. When cortisol levels are peaking, it also directly impacts what our blood sugar levels are. So ongoing stress actually increases blood sugar, which long-term ends up becoming what we call diabetes. I'm sure if you go back to teenage years, we know our hormones were all over the place, but also when we were dealing with stress and anxiety, our skin could reflect what that looks like. And that's not just our teenage years. I mean, how many adults out there occasionally end up with breakouts or cold sores? And it's always around stress. Absolutely could be an underlying precipitator of that. Allergies and asthma are pretty much always aggravated by stress. It's part of what actually makes us more vulnerable to having allergies and asthma is underlying stress and just how it interferes with the immune system's function. Getting sick more frequently, or when you actually get sick, maybe it takes you longer to get over. Stress itself weakens our immune system's function and just overall health and well-being in that department too. It's also something that can contribute to autoimmune disorders, arthritis, as I was mentioning, all those aches and pains. It's also very much so related to any, what we, refer to our mental health. I prefer to call them brain health issues of depression and anxiety. Just anything mood stabilization wise is very much so directly impacted by stress. Something that people may not be aware of, we're talking about all the different hormone fluctuations that happen in the body. Infertility is also something that can result, or at least be more of a potential scenario when dealing with chronic levels of stress. Some of that may be hormones, but some of it may also just be that the environment then also constant stress is not the type of environment that is ideal for growing a human. And of course, sleep is absolutely impacted by stress, whether you can't fall asleep at night, or maybe you can, but you wake up early, or you could sleep forever and never feel like you actually slept. Now, this again is not a comprehensive list, but you can see the multitude of every system in the body being impacted by chronic levels of stress. In fact, there's not one cell in the body that is not negatively impacted by chronic levels of stress, which is why it can create so many different types of health issues and why it's linked with 93% of all visits to doctors. Now, before I get into the most effective ways to start reducing stress naturally, I just want to take a moment and remind you to click that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, give me a big thumbs up. I don't want you to miss out on a future episode, guys. I am constantly producing videos around like how to optimize brain health, gut health, boost your immune system, anything to help you be able to take back control of your health so you can be more unstoppable in the life that we're living and ultimately achieve what I call total body mastery. So again, just click that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and while you're down there, give me a big thumbs up. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Now, what is the most effective method or methods for starting to manage stress and handling stress from a natural standpoint? Well, the very first and foremost thing we need to talk about is food. Food that we want to avoid and other foods we want to incorporate in because it's chock full of the nutrients our body needs when it's dealing with chronic levels of stress at a higher level. So the first set of foods that we want to avoid are ones that we shouldn't be consuming anyway if we want to be healthy. There is no goodness that comes from sugar, unfortunately. I mean, you've got the pleasure side of that, but sugar wreaks havoc on every single system in the body. It is the best way to create what's called inflammation, which think of inflammation as basically setting your whole body on fire. We know that it's linked with every disease and illness that there is. So keeping inflammation levels down is critically important if you actually want to be healthy long term. Sugar is the best way to create inflammation. So we want to avoid anything that has high levels of sugar. And that is also talking about our natural alternatives too for sugar. Our body is not meant to be exposed to sweets on a regular basis. No good actually comes from them long term. The other thing we want to reduce dramatically, partly because it relates back to sugar, even though it may help you relax at the end of the day or help you feel like you can fall asleep more easily, would be just too much alcohol. Okay? Again, yes, there's some little benefit of maybe drinking red wine, but ultimately, I would say you can get more resveratrol and the other goodness that comes from wine out of actual fruits and vegetables. Part of the challenge with alcohol is what it does to your blood sugar levels and how your body processes it. Again, it is one of the best ways to create inflammation in your system. So we want to avoid that. The other side, from a substance standpoint, that we want to not be consuming too much of is caffeine. Now, I know when we're dealing with chronic levels of stress, we're a little fatigued. It's one of the most common ways it presents is we're just tired all the time, no matter what we do. So it's very common for us to be reaching for caffeine to help get us going in the morning or again in the afternoon when we feel like we're crashing because we know we have to get through our day. The challenge is when you're consuming too much caffeine, more than 2 cups of coffee in a day is considered too much caffeine. We're actually stressing areas in our body that help us be able to combat stress. And then it amplifies the negative effects that end up cascading as a result. And the other area of food that we really want to try to avoid would be more of those bad fats. The vegetable oils that we've been told are fine for us are really not. You'll find this a lot in baked goods and prepackaged processed foods, but also don't choose to cook with these on your own. The fats that are really healthy for us that will help our body function through stress more readily, I'm going to be getting into in just a moment, okay? So those healthy good fats, actually we'll just go there right now, would be like your coconut oil, grass-fed butter, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. Those are really good at reducing the inflammation that's in the body, so putting all the fires out. And they are really important for the nutrients that they contain for proper brain function, which then also helps us to be able to navigate stressful situations more easily. And they're great for our cardiovascular system too. There's not one system in the body that does not benefit from making sure we're getting these good fats in. Another food that we want to consume more of are our foods that are high in B vitamins. You can get this from your raw or your cultured dairy type of products. If you don't have issues with dairy, I prefer to actually use more cage-free eggs and my grass-fed beef. Meat in general will have that, but also all of your dark leafy green vegetables are another great source for B vitamins. You can get it in brewer's yeast as well, wild caught fish, and your poultry too. So making sure that you're regularly consuming those types of foods will help bolster the level of B vitamins available in your body to help your body be able to handle stress and all the other normal functions that they're required for. Foods that are higher in calcium and magnesium also will help you navigate and the body respond better to the stressful situations that we are in all of the time. So some of the foods that you can consume that will have these nutrients in them are like your Greek yogurts that are unsweetened, because again, sugar, we want to stay away from that. Wild caught salmon, your beans, your legumes, dark leafy green vegetables, again, like they are a powerhouse source of amazing nutrition for the body. All your cruciferous vegetables also contain a lot of calcium and magnesium, so eat them readily too. That's like your broccoli, your cabbage, your kohlrabi. Super good foods for you to be consuming. Foods that are high in protein, so all of our meats and our nuts and our seeds, making sure that they are raised the way that God intended them. Again, helps to regulate blood sugar levels and take some of the stress off of the body so that you can be more invincible to that. And then along those lines, but for a different reason, or another reason to point out to you, would be foods that are high in omega-3 fatty acids. Now, these are those oily fatty fish that we know about, your salmon, your sardines, those are great. But you can also get omega-3 fatty acids from some of the nuts and the seeds as well too, if you're not the biggest fan of fish like I am not. But you can also get omega-3 fatty acids in the same ratios from your grass-fed beef. As long as your cow is grass-fed, grass-finished, it's not going to create any negative aspects in the body. So food and working towards incorporating more of the good stuff in while you're reducing the bad stuff is going to really help you step up your game and be more invincible to stress. There are a few other things I want to share with you as well. Exercise is absolutely a great way for negating stress on the body and its negative effects, because there's actually a hormonal shift that happens when you are active. So this is exercise, but this is also like just move, okay? Get the body moving, incorporate more laughter, because ultimately when you do that, you release more endorphins into your body. Those are your pain-killing, feel-good hormones. But when endorphins are in your system, your body cannot utilize all the cortisol you may be producing because of the amount of stress you're under. Endorphins, when they're in the body, they kind of naturally bring down cortisol levels because they block the body's ability to use cortisol. So laughter, intimacy, exercise, all very much so have great ways at reducing the negative impacts of stress and just kind of help normalize function in the body. So I would incorporate that in as much as you possibly can. Just get moving, however that looks like, what you enjoy. Do that. Do more of that, okay? One of my favorite ways for helping to kind of just detach from the world for a while and also reduce stress levels is to spend time in nature. There is so much research out there about the benefits of being in nature, like getting away from normal life, getting unplugged from technology, getting out of the city where you've got nothing but asphalt and pavement and building all of these man-made, well, not necessarily man-made, but man-made structures out of all of these metals and just not earthy types of materials. There is something to be said for getting out into the grass, getting into the dirt, and being surrounded in nature. So go spend out time, take your family with you, unless you need a break sometimes. Go by yourself, go with your friends, make it a social environment that is just fun and provides goodness to the soul. And the last thing that I want to share with you is about just keeping a journal. It's not always easy to talk about what's going on in life. And sometimes it's hard to just even be able to articulate what it is you want to say about whatever's going on in life. And it's still important, though, for those things to be expressed. So journaling creates the opportunity for you to be able to kind of express yourself about whatever's going on in life in a medium where you may not necessarily be met with confrontation if that's something that you're concerned about. You won't be met with judgment if that's what you're concerned about. Getting out of your head is incredibly important, and all of these very successful high performers get out of their head on a regular basis. So whether it's like brainstorming opportunities or you just need to like get whatever's inside of your head out, journaling is a great way to actually do that. And it doesn't take much time. You can do it just once a week. You could do it on a daily basis, part of your routine, whatever works best for you. And there is something different about writing out the details versus just speaking them. So try journaling, incorporate more goodness into your diet and stay away from some of the junk, move the body and spend time in nature, and you will be feeling less stressed, like within moments, I promise you. Now, if you're sitting there going, okay, Kel, you kind of gave me some details about the food. You said the food's the most important variable, but don't know what that looks like. Don't fret about that. I've got you covered. Just look down below the video in the description. Click on it so it expands. Scroll down until you see the full body reset meal plan. All you need to do is tell me where to send that, and you will have instantly access to a full week, 7 days worth of what does it look like to eat to help your body be more resilient, more invincible to stress. This is a meal plan that was designed where you don't have to spend every single day in the kitchen, because honestly, who has time for that? That's stressful to me. And the recipes that are also included for you are easy to make. They don't have 20 some odd ingredients. They're simple. So it's very doable. And then I also included a grocery list for you, just again, to keep things simple and try to reduce any stress if you really want to take your health to the next level and become more invincible to stress. This is a great place to start. So go ahead and grab that. And I can't wait to see you on a future episode. We'll see you soon. God bless.